I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. Lace up and drip it down, take her wherever, yeah. Say the word and we take trips, I'm with whatever, yeah. Don't bring me down, she build me up, not talking teddy bears. She not Bonnie, I'm not Clyde, but if it need, we down the ride. His and hers, the wave, we got the same taste. Blue, 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 we like the same faces. Grinding day and night, I need a vacation. Bring my little baby, it's a vacation. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. It's not tricking if she's yours, so no, I'm spending, yeah. If I got it, then she got it, tell her spend it, yeah. What I own and know she owns enough and rent it, yeah. If I'm dipping, tell her slide, it's no question, she gon' ride. Tell her count it up, make sure it's all there. We without a knot, this gon' be all, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands and tell her spend it, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah. I get some bands and I get some bands on my little baby, yeah.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Whoop, we jumped too quick. I just so quick on the trigger finger. Want to get this music going. We are here on May 8th. It's a Friday. It's been a great week. The first week of May. Things are picking up. People are out. We're starting to see some business moving. Hopefully we're all staying safe. We're staying healthy. We're excited to see where things are going to go. Today we're going to talk about Alex Smith. Have you heard about the injury that he had? Whether you're a sports fan or not, what a story he is of overcoming. And we're going to talk about what does it take, what grit does it take to overcome a major injury like you'll see that Alex Smith had. We're going to finish our 90s TV bracket that we've been doing all week. We're going to talk about what in the world is Omnichannel and how can Papertech help. And then at the end, we're going to do one of the most important things. We're going to celebrate mothers. This is a high five. We will see you now.
The time has come, the questions are set, opinions hide, discussions are led, a show about nothing and everything, it's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered, yeah. The high five.
The high five, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make sure the microphones are up. They are, because just in a moment, I'm going to bring up two of the smartest, brightest, best looking gentlemen in the world. They're the co-hosts of the high five, and let's bring them up now. Whoopsie. Oops, I forgot what I was doing there. Hold on. Let me see. What happens is you gotta get a two-shot over here. Hold on.
There's such a human factor.
There is. If you forget one thing, well, the thing is, it's like a 22-step process to make all this work, and sometimes I forget a few things. But there, on the right hand of your screen, finally, I don't have all the zooms going through. Yesterday I watched a little clip, and it was Peyton Manning and Tom Brady talking schmack about golf. And what I thought as I sat there, as I was like, man, I want to see a third grouping in that proved. It's Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. I think Danny Shard and Matt Hoskins need to be the next pair in there and get some real schmack going. From Glenwood Springs, Colorado, where the elk don't keep him from playing in the golf course, Mr. Danny Shard. How are you, Danny?
Good morning, Nate, Brian. Good morning, High Five Nation. Happy to be here, and I agree. I actually pride myself with my smack talking skills, especially on the golf course. Matt Hoskins knows that all too well, so ask him about it if you get a chance.
Okay, was that not epic smack talk before I introduced the better looking half of the screen up there? Peyton, first of all, the shade that Tom Brady was throwing, and then Peyton just talking.
Okay.
Oh, it was next level. I watched it twice, and EJ, as he was hosting that, I was like, if you have not seen that clip, It is perfect.
It's good.
I really hope it is. All right, on the left-hand side of the screen, we are stoked to see him because he tells us to read his t-shirt. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the one who if he coached you, would have been a champion. Unfortunately, he's only been able to coach a few people in his life because he is so proud of the Lincoln Lions and any teams that his boys are on, Mr. Brian Linke.
Morning, Nate. Morning, Dan. Ready to go Friday, Mother's Day weekend, and hopefully the deal count today beats yesterday, and excited about what next week holds.
It's just going to keep going up and up. You know,
I think so too.
We're seeing the trend line is on the way up. And here's the deal. Those who jump out first, who get out there and move. And so yesterday, if you haven't watched it and you're part of the PayProtect family, whether you are, just email me at nmanahan@payprotect.com and I'll get you the link to the replay of the video. We did a launch yesterday. In fact, let's start with this, just to, little family business. We did a launch. We called it Take That Mountain. And we were talking about the mountain of opportunity that exists today. And sometimes it's about changing our vision, our view, and stop looking at all the bad things and look at all the opportunities that are out there. Now is the time to jump in, because those who are the early adopters in any industry, those who jump in and say, hey, I'm going to be the first one in the front lines, those are the ones who win. Doesn't mean it's not easy. It doesn't mean it's, you're going to go through a lot of trials and bumps and pains and trying to figure out how to make all this work. But those who get off the couch first will be the winners at the end of this season. And we're seeing that. Let's get going. Right, guys?
That's exactly right.
Absolutely.
All right, so talking about getting going, our first one, in case you missed it, I think this is a story. In fact, it kind of left, I left the back of my head, because what happens, these guys get injured. Alex Smith is kind of this journeyman guy that had been all over the place. He started in San Francisco, top draft pick, then goes to Kansas City. It was kind of, he was chosen for Colin Kaepernick over him, and he'd always been an exceptional player. A lot of times people would refer to him as a game manager and say, oh, he's just a game manager. And I agree with a lot of the experts that say, look, a game manager gets games won. Sometimes if you know how to manage the game, there are very few people that do that. He threw very few interceptions. He never got beat. Sometimes he didn't go out there and win it instead. But as you saw in the Super Bowl win last year, when Mahomes and Andy Reid came out, they said, look, Alex Smith was the one who made us who we were. We couldn't have gotten here without the 1 year that Mahomes and Alex Smith were together. Well, he goes to Washington Redskins, and we see this. I kind of cut a little bit of video here, and I'm going to play it. I'm going to try to actually take the audio off and just play it in the background here. But I think the guys have seen this. It's just a little bit of a 47-second clip of an E60. So it's called Project 11, where they're following Alex Smith. But at the end of the day, his leg was broken in multiple places. He's had 19 surgeries. He was fighting for his life about 15 months ago. The infection was so bad. You just saw the x-ray there of where the leg is just snapped through. There are all the pins they had to put to try to bring his leg together. And then what I want to show here is in the modern technology at the end here is I'm going to pull up Twitter. I couldn't figure out how to download this to make it work ahead of time. So let me pull this up and make this full screen, and you're going to see, there we go. This is Alex Smith. Let me start this from the beginning. This is Alex Smith a couple days ago, filmed by his wife. And he is out in the field, cutting, moving, doing drills, showing that his leg, you can see it's all wrapped up there. But I've gone in all this push-up because I just want to make sure people knew, in case you missed it, this guy is ridiculously amazing. The fight that he's put through to get back here, and he wants to come back, and he's still on contract with the Washington Redskins, even though they have a couple other quarterbacks on contract. We don't know what's going to happen. But there he's running full sprint out. What we're looking for here is, guys, this grit that Alex Smith has shown is amazing. What does it take to, when you get hit that bad? I mean, this is like, you're fighting for your life, your livelihood, your career is on the line. And a lot of guys would have just chosen, hey, I'm 35 years old. I've had a good run. I made it through this part, and they may not fight back what it takes to get back to peak performance, which it certainly looks like to me that Alex Smith may get back on the field. We don't know the end of the story yet, but I've been watching this, and I've just been thinking, man, this guy has a lot of grit. Have you watched the story, and what does it take to do that? I've never been in a situation where I'm that low to be able to get back up to the top where he has.
It's an easy one. mental toughness, right? He's just mentally tougher than just about anybody. No one's been. Joe Theismann had a similar injury to this way back in the day when I was in college at Florida State, and ended his career. I mean, he didn't come back from this. What this tells you is modern medicine is just amazing, and because I'm telling you right now, this happens 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Alex Smith isn't out there running around cones. But what it tells you is, Nate, and just like in anything in life, and I've stressed this to all the kids that I coach, my boys, mental toughness separates good from great, right? You can be good, but if you're not mentally tough, you're never going to be great. And that's exactly what he's doing.
What do you think, Danny?
I totally agree. I mean, the determination I think that he has. I mean, just you've got that option where that was such a terrible injury that it's so easy to just say, you know what, I'm done. And that's not what Joe did. I mean, Joe, I think, tried, but he, his, again, like Brian said, I mean, the time and the era that he was in, I mean, it was close to impossible for him to come back. I mean, he just couldn't have done it, I don't think,
right,
with what he had available to him. Alex Smith, I mean, and I think the odds were definitely not in his favor. I bet it was probably, if you were to ask his doctor, it was probably a 90% chance that he doesn't play football again, probably. Just throwing it out there. What is he, 35 years old?
Just turned 36 like 2 days ago. Yep. 36
years old. So, I mean, he's done, right? So to see him, you got two options to either, 90%, I'm going to call it quits, right? And just take the easy road. He's made some good money. He's been with a lot of successful organizations. He's had some great years in his career. But, like Brian said, the great ones, have that mental toughness and take that step up. And I see that with a lot of partners in our business today too, right? Like they're
Absolutely.
figuring out different ways to earn business. And like, Brian and you, Nate, say quite often is you got to get off the couch, right? And that's what Alex Smith's doing. I mean, he's getting off the couch and he's going to compete again in the NFL, which is crazy to think after that injury that he had.
Well, again, the easy thing is to give up, right? And say, okay, yeah, and not in this example. I mean, he's a professional athlete who's getting the best treatment, and we're all not fortunate enough to be able to get to doctors and things. But again, I think the thing that separates him is just his mental toughness and just the willingness to get up. And just like Danny said, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in anything, sales, whatever. We're going through this pandemic right now, and again, I think the first couple weeks, myself included, we were like, okay, we're all down in the dumps, so I don't want to do anything. Nobody's working, everything's closed. And all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I'm not going to just do that. I'm not just going to lay here and accept that. Right, I'm mentally tougher than that, and you get up and you just get stronger up here.
I just think it's putting yourself in the situation and probably the preparation now. Now, Alex Smith, I was watching long interviews with him, and I've watched the 60, and part of what he says, look, I'd been fairly healthy all of his career. I'd had a couple of things in major, but he said, really, I'd been preparing for this injury the whole time to be mentally ready at any point to fight through this. And he said, looking for that adversity and thinking through, okay, this will come at some point. And I think that's part of what getting ourselves in the framework of, look, whether it's self-imposed where we are fighting through something of our own mistakes and we put it upon ourselves, or something that's forced upon us where it's an injury or something that is catastrophic, or a situation like a coronavirus pandemic that none of us could have predicted. And suddenly we find ourselves in a situation where we're on the mat and we're, have the possibility to tap out and just go. we have to prepare now for that. If we're not in that place, you are going to be, it's a lot harder if you haven't put yourself in the right mental space. What am I going to surround myself with? What is my goal? What is my vision? How am I going to do that? Yes, I'm on the mat, but I get back up. My goal is to be back on that football field. My goal is to sell another 30 accounts. My goal is to do X, Y, or Z, and to start figuring out how do I put myself in that situation, and then put your people around you that are going to help it. Yes, Alex Smith was able to literally have, because he was in Washington, D.C., special commendation, I think it was, they called it, from the Department of Defense, from the Secretary of Defense, to be able to get the treatment that people in war get in order to bring them back, because they'd never seen this injury. No NFL coach, it was worse than Theismann, and they were trying to figure out how do we actually help him. And but he put himself in a situation, but he has his friends, his family, those people around that helped him support. And you got to get yourself in that situation. And what you're doing today, if you're not on the mat right now, you will be sometime. It's coming back. I don't know when, and I hope it doesn't, but we all know there are hills and valleys. Prepare for that valley now so that when you're on the hill, you can look down and go, wow, I got out of that because I prepared before. And that's just some of the things I was thinking about it. These are interesting topics because I think they're just stories that all of us can connect to, whether we're a sports person or we're a business person. We look at the stories of triumph, of the rags to riches, and that's what we resonate with because we all sit here right now. But the difference is that it's mental toughness and hard work that has to push us through, right, guys?
It is.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought this up, Nate, because I love stories like this. And I think about, like the comeback stories, right? And like you said, the rags to riches, or from the valley to the top, right? And this is something that everybody can relate to right now. And I think we've already seen the bottom, right? And like now we're in that climbing back up phase. And everybody's doing it, and hearing success stories like this and comeback stories, if it doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. I'm telling you, because if people can come back from some of this, some of the things like Alex Smith has and other people, not just sports related injuries, but you know what I'm talking about. Like anything in this pandemic we're all dealing with. If this doesn't motivate you, then call me and call Brian and we can get you motivated.
Absolutely. And again, I think it's the biggest thing that I do well with the kids that I coach. I'm able to bring out the best in them. And again, I think that's what separates me. And I've been told that by a lot of people, just from the other guys. They're just willing to roll the ball out there and watch the kids play, and I'm able to pull out, especially this thing that we're doing now with Jen and the Lions. We were the bad news. We were bad. We were really bad. But I got those kids to believe that they could be better. And they still have a long way to go, but we're real basketball players now, and they never had won anything in their lives, and all of a sudden you get a taste of winning, and it tastes pretty good. And again, like Danny and I have said at a lot of these conferences, when I stand up there and talk, we're only as good as our agents, right? we rely on our agents. PayProTech can do what PayProTech does, and again, we won't. We're not sitting down. If anybody got on the call yesterday, we've got a lot of really exciting things that we're offering now. But again, when it comes down to it, we're only as good as our agents, and we need our agents to get up off the couch and get mentally tough and get out there and let's start selling something.
Absolutely. And we're gonna keep striving every morning to make sure that you have all the tools and tricks to make sure you do that, and sometimes have a little bit of fun, because the joy of life. Alex Smith was talking about, he remembered the first time that he had laughter and was able to laugh, because that was a hard I think he was in the hospital for like 6 weeks, something like that, and but being able to leave and laugh with his kids and laugh with his wife. And so sometimes we bring things like this, the 90s TV bracket round, which has been interesting because I thought this would be, but Brian hasn't seen a lot of these shows, but we're going to finish this up. We're going to have the champion. We're going to see if, I think Danny Shard's already shaped it to bring it in. It's just 3 votes today. And I'm going to bring up the video so these guys can see it. So give me a second here while I start the video so they can see, because I am going to bring up the bracket so they can see what we're looking at here. So we're going to start with we are into the Elite Eight. We started with 20 teams, and we're starting with The Simpsons versus The 70s Show. Brian Linke, tell me, what is your choice?
I have seen both of those. Well, if anybody hasn't seen The Simpsons, then they're just sleeping.
Under a rock.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're just they're still asleep. I mean, for that reason alone, I'm going to go with The Simpsons. I just think it's long running. I think it's extremely clever, and my pick is The Simpsons.
All right, Simpsons into the Final Four. Danny Shard, are you going to make it an easy one, or are you going to split it up so I make the decision maker?
I got to go Simpsons. I have to go Simpsons.
All right, so
You'd be lying if you said something else.
so my vote ultimately is irrelevant here. So we are Simpsons on to that next move. So let me bring the Seinfeld. Here we go. All right. Oops, got to bring this up. Sorry about that. Little weirdness. Seinfeld versus Full House coming in with the championships here. Seinfeld versus Full House.
Okay.
It's not even a question.
Why are we even doing this?
All right, let's finish off the side of the bracket. Who's going to be in the championship match? It's The Simpsons versus Seinfeld, the longest running television and it's certainly animation show in the history, versus the Jerry Seinfeld, who literally that was one of the great moments in The Last Dance. Jerry Seinfeld walking around in the locker room at the end of the 90s in The Last Dance. So what would we say when it comes to the Seinfeld versus The Simpsons?
Okay, I will say that who's the guy that made The Simpsons? Chuck Lorre or something? Is that Chuck or Matt something?
I should know that. I just don't. I don't. Yeah.
Larry David.
I forget the name of the guy, but how many things did he actually see coming, right? Like predicting the future. You can see this on previous Simpsons episodes, and it's like, holy cow, this actually happened. That's the only reason that it's even in the conversation right now. But Seinfeld, all the way. It should have been pushed into the championship round. It should have gotten a bye all the way through.
All right, Brian Linke, what say you? Are you agreeing?
The thing is there's certain shows that that are just so clever, and these guys that write them are so smart and so clever. Larry David, who was instrumental, who wrote Seinfeld. Now he's got his own show called Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is Seinfeld revisited. It's just a lot of F-bombs in it, right?
Right.
But, just like The Office, those kinds of shows, they're just so unbelievably clever. This is a landslide victory for Seinfeld.
All right. So, again, I am Mr. Irrelevant when it comes to these. So, I get to move us on to the next. Home Improvement versus Friends. We got a championship. Seinfeld will go against one of these four. Home Improvement versus Friends. We have Tim the Tool Man versus the famous six from Manhattan living out their dream. Mr. Brian Linke.
Nate, I think you should go first.
You want me to go first?
I'll go first on this one, so I'm not Mr. Irrelevant on this one. So we'll see. Here, this is a hard one for me, and because Home Improvement is certainly this is childhood versus college me, and so I'm trying to figure out which one it is. Tim the Toolman Taylor, and it's one of those I was thinking going through this. Reminded, I've never introduced my kids this. In fact, I had to look it up. It's just now recently streaming. I think it's on Hulu now, and so maybe something I bring some of my kids, my younger kids. I think all my kids would find the humor in it. It has I'd like to go back and rewatch it. It's not one I've rewatched, and because of that, I have The Office and The Friends are my go-to. It used to be The Friends on Netflix just to watch in the background. In fact, I've been doing The Office during this pandemic just in the background because it makes joy out of me. Michael just left the last episode I left, and that still makes me cry when he leaves The Office, and so I have to go Friends because it's just a little more special to me than Home Improvement. Brian Linke, what say you?
Okay, if a show takes place in New York City, it gets my vote. So Friends, not even close.
All right, so we know the winner already, Danny. So the question is,
like being Mr. Irrelevant. Would
you been a condescender? Would you have gone
That's
Tim the
okay.
Toolman?
It's the perfect score for Friends either way.
Yeah. All right. So now let me bring up the screen here and bring us down to the bracket. This is the one, the Mike Stetzel bracket on down here, where he somehow got the 2 victories. You guys made Golden Girls versus Roseanne. I have no idea how this became into the Elite Eight.
I mean, this is totally skewed the way that this bracket ended up. I mean, him getting 2 points was not fair.
Well, it was the only way I could do it. So the guest gets 2 points on the special episode. But so, gentlemen, what do we say? Golden Girls versus Roseanne. I don't even want to pick here. I don't even want to admit that any of these would be in my top 8 from the 1990s.
I can't believe they're in the Final Four. This is terrible. I think we just put Friends into the championship round and call it a day.
All right. Friends versus Seinfeld. Here we go. Let's bring it up. What do you say, gentlemen? Friends versus Seinfeld. What do we have?
Again,
They're both in New York.
Well, they're both New York, but I mean, Seinfeld, arguably, and I say arguably, but it could be the greatest television show of all time. I mean, again, yeah, we got The Office, and they're up there too. But Seinfeld Seinfeld's my vote.
All right, and Danny Shard, you have predicted all from the beginning that Seinfeld was going to be the show. You said this was going to be it. I'm going to assume that has not changed your mind. Seinfeld, the greatest show from the 1990s. Are you standing by that?
I think I also may have said that about Friends as well, that I would lobby to put them into the championship round too. I think the stars have aligned, and this is exactly the way it should have ended, regardless of Stetzel's antics yesterday and his oddball picks. This is how it should have been. Seinfeld versus Friends, the true decider. And Nate, I'm going to make you not Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going to go Friends.
Oh, my God.
Oh, we're going Friends. All right, so now I've got to choose. See, I kind of thought that I didn't have to make a choice here. Man, so I'm going to talk this out in my head because I really thought you both were going to go Seinfeld, and I didn't have to do it. And at the end of the day, for me, it's the show that I have watched the most and holds up. And man, I'm going Seinfeld on this. And because I think
if you would have picked Friends, I was going to go grab a beer and I'm done.
Because I think at the end of the day, Friends is starting to look like it was filmed in the late '90s, early 2000s already, and the storylines don't hold quite. And they were so great at pulling in things that we felt, and just the guest stars, and those things don't translate to where we are today. And Seinfeld was just really, literally a story. The storylines were so simple, but so profound at the same time. And then that they eventually made that storyline about them creating that storyline and a story about nothing, and how they just literally ended the show sitting in a jail cell, not knowing what else is going on. I was going Seinfeld. Congratulations, Seinfeld. You have won the high five best show of the 1990s. What say you gentlemen as we close this incredibly, I won't do a 20-team bracket. This was way too much again, but it was a nice try, something different to do. What do you say is the Seinfeld, the official 90s show of the high five?
Absolutely.
I think it's the way it should have been.
All right. So that was number 2 and number 3, because I made number 2 and number 3, because you're wondering, both the 90s TV bracket just to get us moving forward. And now to number 4, the Omnichannel, how can we help? So let me explain a little bit what Omnichannel. It's a new buzzword, probably, last 4 years. And it's the idea that you're a brick and mortar store, you're a brick and mortar restaurant, but you're also selling online. You may be a restaurant and also have a retail division. I noticed one of our clients in the STK has an online butcher shop where you can buy kits of made to order, and they'll ship it to you in dry ice. And I have one coming for me because you can get these Wagyu kits, because I was like, my word, how can you not do that? And but it's that doing and making business so it's not just one way, and you're diversifying your business. And so the question is, we have a lot of ways to help do that, because it used to be if you wanted to be a retail store on Main Street and also have an online online store. Never two shall the thing cross. Those are two separate businesses. You have to run separate inventories. You have to run separate mids sometimes. You couldn't do it. Now, there's reasons to do separate merchant identification numbers. There is reasons to do that, but sometimes you don't need to now. Sometimes you can just add on a 20% that's going to be on online commerce as you move on. And then there may be accounting purposes of the day. And that's where we come in as a consultant and help you think through it. But every business needs to have an online component. We asked that question, I think, 2 weeks ago, where he said, is there any business that doesn't have an online component? Being omni-channel, selling in as many different ways. Maybe you're selling on Facebook, you're selling on Instagram. There's so many ways you can sell, and we have resources to be able to do that. Danny, are you seeing our partners taking advantage of how they can present and help merchants become omni-channel?
Yeah, we are. I mean, and you know, it's obviously it's something that everybody needs to get familiar with, like we've been talking about for the last several weeks. You know, and omnichannel, it's the ability for, I mean, to put it simply, I mean, there's a lot to it, but to put it simply, it's the ability for merchants, like you said, Nate, to take payments across all channels. But more importantly, it's about a seamless user experience and customer experience, right? Across any platform, whether they're online or in the store or over the phone. It is just an easy, seamless customer experience, and it's the same regardless of the way that they choose to do business with that merchant. And yeah, you know, we've got several solutions that are capable of doing it. In fact, you know, Pay Anywhere, to bring that up, is probably 90% there, minus the e-commerce integration piece, right? But the ability to do the storefront, the invoicing, the virtual terminal, and have those pieces there to create a really seamless user experience and user-friendly solution for a merchant is really what we're going for. Then you get into the hot sauces, the Paradise, who's about to roll out a really awesome online ordering system, and several others that you had mentioned, Nate. I mean, it's you know, we've got solutions already that can do exactly this. Partners are doing it without even knowing that they're selling omnichannel. So I think that's pretty cool as well.
See, this is where people in my generation start falling behind.
Well, and Brian, I was going to ask you, like, not so much your generation, but also just like, some of it's geographic. Like, you're in Warsaw, Indiana, not a huge metropolitan world, and right. But you actually have some high end. What are you seeing from like the restaurants, the retail there? They're now starting to realize they need to be omnichannel, and I'm going to assume most of them weren't before. And so what are you saying to them to try to encourage them to think, hey, you've got to diversify the way you do business in order to make sure you're sustainable for the long run, and then help them make those decisions by getting them into products. So, hey, if you're a restaurant and you're going to start to go into catering, you should be, here's a Pay Anywhere where you can do invoicing so they can pay beforehand, or put 50% down and click to pay. Here is you know, I'm thinking of the small men's store in downtown Warsaw. Hey, you're going to sell some things online, and so here is Retail Cloud, and you can quickly put in half your inventory, and it's tied to the same inventory. Tell me about some of those conversations you're having with merchants in a small town as they're trying to learn how to be omnichannel.
I just had one last night with a guy at the American Table who is business savvy for sure. You know, there's a lot of restaurant owners that I deal with personally that just aren't savvy enough to talk about this. But the guy up at the American Table who relies on his Facebook page doesn't even have a website. You Google it, and his menu is online. But I told him, I said we've got some really cool things that we're offering now, and he's smart enough to know that his takeout business is, like we talked about yesterday, is an add-on to something that he didn't really have before. I mean, he had it before, you could take out there, but now he's going to start offering family-style dinners and everything like that. And I just told him, I said, we've got some products here that. And he was definitely up for it. So I mean, the pandemic may have done some really bad things to the economy, but I think it's also it's something that a lot of these business owners that are savvy enough, and like you said, Nate, this is probably not the right part of the country for it here in Warsaw, Indiana, but we do have restaurant owners that we have a few I don't deal with a whole lot of them, but I think people now are going to be more acceptable to online ordering.
Yeah, I think one of the things for me is making sure that every merchant knows that we have a solution. I rack my brain every day trying to think of a solution system or a business that we can go into, and we don't have some way to touch it other than like but even those we can do the payment side, but like, FTD florists. Well, you have to use the FTD system to do the florist system. But we have lots of florists across the U.S. that are side saddling it because that's just a small piece, and they're also a hardware store, and their hardware store is running on Retail Cloud, and they have to figure out their own system to do the part of their florist side that's a unique side of their business. But everyone has an online integration. They have ways to order, and even in small town Warsaw, I think of American Table. I grew up in Warsaw. My dad is still there, and we often would order takeout. In fact, I live just near where Brian's sitting right now. Grew up in a little neighborhood called Hickory Estates, and we would drive through the back way, back when you were able to do that, through what is now the worldwide Johnson & Johnson Depew, and you're not allowed through there, and drive to American Table, pick up food, and bring it back. Well, now I wouldn't do that unless I had the experience where I can quickly order it. Because I'm all about ease and convenience, and I have here in Indianapolis, I have 50 options. Those who do it first in Warsaw will be the first to do it, and I see some of them doing it, like Cerulean and some of those that are I still follow back in my hometown. Danny, what do you think is the best way for partners? They don't. You said, because I thought this was interesting. You said that they don't know that they're selling omnichannel, but they are. What's the first thing you would learn about if you're going to start making sure you're helping being a good consultant? You don't have to be an expert, just a good consultant to help connect people to like the POS Pros team when you're doing omni-channel sales and you're going into brick and mortar and helping people transition.
Yeah, and I think it's really just knowing about the options that are out there. Like, Brian said, and you guys were talking about there, a lot of our partners are also from small towns. We've got a lot of partners from bigger metropolitan areas. And the small town partners are probably not seeing as much of a response on this concept, right, of online ordering and really developing this, but they know about it. And I'll tell you, I live in a small town, and people are definitely starting to come around to the concept because businesses are making it available. But this has been, like you said, Nate, like you've been doing this for a long time in Indianapolis, right? I mean, you're the one who taught me about ordering your Starbucks and just walking in and picking it up off the counter. Like, that's just something that a lot of people here don't do, and small towns don't do, but they're getting educated to do it. So I think as a partner, it's really just knowing about these options that you have, but you really don't have to be an expert like you're talking about, right? You can really keep these conversations simple with the merchants. And yes, omni-channel, at its core, and looking at, if you try to look at the definition of it, it looks confusing and it sounds confusing, but it's actually very simple. And it's just seamless transaction across many different ways of taking payments. And, partners really just need to know the solutions that are available, but just know that we have it, right? We have the ability to set them up with like these all-in-one type of solutions, and we've got teams to help them, go through the consultation process and find the right systems for the merchants. So it's just really having the confidence to bring it up and start the conversations, and also know that every single conversation you have about this can do cash discount, because all of our solutions can.
Well, the other thing too, Dan, is on my PaperOtech, I mean, PaperOtech is doing what it can, right? As far to try to help. This weekend I'm planning on sitting down and watching videos. So for a lot of our partners out there that aren't familiar enough with it, mypaperotech.com, it's all on there. And, just get, you don't have to become an expert, because we know that I'm not going to be, but it's definitely there to help you.
And I will say too that people know when you're not educated, and partners, Brian, know when they're being lied to, right? And they all know for a fact you're not going to be watching videos this weekend. So
I am. I already have a plan.
Oh, he's going to have
Don't call me a liar, Dan.
a Bud Light and a shot of Jack in honor of Danny, and he's just going to sit there and watch all weekend long. There's nothing else coming on.
That didn't come out of my mouth.
One video that is watched this weekend, okay?
Okay. You and I, we start off on a bad note here to begin with. So let's move on to the next one.
All right. Well, that was the last of the week, and so it's been a great week. We're learning and growing, and every week, and man, I've seen thank you guys. There are a lot more comments as I'm seeing, and I still can't see all the comments because we post this on so many forums. But you guys were all correcting us on all of our things, telling us that Matt Groening was the Simpsons creator, longest running show. You guys are having comments. Janice was doing her Janice voice from Friends. I love to see that, and one of the things I'm trying to work on is figure out how to be able to see all those comments, even bring some of them up on screen. So we're figuring those things out. But I'm so thankful you guys are watching, whether you're watching live, which a lot of you do, but even more of you are watching afterwards. Thank you so much. Please keep sending comments. I love that I hear it, and I think that both these guys do. When we get on the phone with you and you say you've been watching and you bring something up or we laugh about something, that just makes our week. And so thank you so much for being part of this community. And we want to do, our first part was just getting this and figuring this out for the first several weeks, and now we're to the part where we're trying to figure out how to turn this into the high five community. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on over the next couple of weeks, learning how to do that. And if you have ideas or tips or tricks or things that you would do, please let us know. Send them off to me, put them in our Facebook, put them in comments, email us. You guys know how to get a hold of us. As we close out, let me bring in some music here and a little bit of groove for our Friday. It's a High Five Friday. We are going into our weekend. Brian Linke, what say you to all the wonderful people that are watching you right now?
Well, again, to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. I've got the best mom in the world. She's sitting in her townhouse down in Tampa, chomping at the bit, ready to start traveling again. So happy Mother's Day, Mom. And but the shout out of the day is today, Benjamin Douglas Linke graduates from Indiana University. 4 years ago, he started, and there was no possible way I thought he was ever going to get through it. But in 4 years, a major, 2 minors, graduated with, I think my wife told me, a 3.6 GPA. And so I can't be more proud of my middle son.
That is awesome, and happy Mother's Day. That's part of this Mother's Day tribute as we close off this for moments. And congratulations, Ben Linke. Brian, I'm just going to ask you real quick here. I'm interested. How is IU doing their graduation ceremonies? Are they doing any ceremonies online or any honorings, or are they pushing that down the road and they'll do it later?
No, they're doing. There's a whole online package that they're doing. So it's nice. Obviously, it's not what we thought it was going to be. Like with my older son Zach, when he graduated, it was a whole big deal. Believe me, I was about to go spend $2,000 on dinner tonight at Janko's Little Zagreb, but that obviously got canceled as well. But so no, they're doing a really nice package for the kids. I think Ben got a cap and gown yesterday, and it's nice. And I believe all the graduates now are invited to go to the graduation in December for the kids that graduate in the first semester. Not that a lot of them are going to do it. And hopefully they're going to get jobs and start working out in the working world. But I think they're making that available to them.
All right. So, Danny Shard, yesterday we honored your mother, but let's bring that back up because your mother, I know, just commented. She says new term today, omni-channel. We taught her something new as she's watching live here with us. But it's Mother's Day weekend. What do you say to our Pay Protect Nation as we finish up this week?
Shout out to all the moms. Obviously, those of you who know me really well know I am the definition of a mama's boy. My mom and I have just such a special relationship, and she's a partner, and a lot of you know who she is from comments, and we'll be meeting her at events soon as we get back out there again. So, Mom, I love you. Happy Mother's Day. I know we don't live close to each other, but you're with me every day in my office, pushing me. Here's a picture of my mom, me and my brother, her late husband, Jordan. So, Mom, I love you. And my wife, This is her last Mother's Day as the mother of only one child. So bless her heart, because her plate's gonna get even more full. Love all the moms out there.
You have to one up me again. You know.
Special shout out to Ben Linke though. I know that. Gosh, what an amazing accomplishment! And I gotta ask, is it the Indiana University, or do you have to do something special to have "the" put in front of the?
No, you just say
the name?
Well, I think it is. I think it's the Indiana University.
Okay.
I do.
Is it the every university, or
No.
is it just the select few? that
No, okay, some have it in their names, like that one,
Yeah.
that terrible school over in Columbus, where they want to have the article because for some reason those three letters make them feel special because they're
but
so
they didn't let them.
I thought it was
corrupt
just
in so
the
many other
Ohio
places.
State and then the U. I thought that's what I thought that was it, but apparently there's others.
It's certainly the Florida State University. I can see that.
All right, and I'm going to close it out. I want to say, I always think, and going into this, one, my kids have a wonderful mom that did wonderful things for them, and I'm so thankful for that. And my mom passed January 2.5 years ago, and it's days like this I remember. I'm so thankful that I had a mom, and for those who have moms in their lives, I know there's some who have been able to thrive, but most of us link back our heritage to our moms. And there have been too many deadbeat dads in the history of mankind, and so we're trying to correct that with our next generation. But moms, you have sustained us. You have helped us grow. You have been there in our highs and our lows, and so we're so thankful for that. And thankful that you put our interests as kids first. And so we hope that you are celebrated this weekend. We hope that this is a special weekend for all the moms out there. I know I'll be thinking of my mom and all the moms that are in my life, because we want to make sure that those days are special. So treat with an extra breakfast, a little extra nap, whatever makes you special. I hope you get it, because this is a unique time. On that, gentlemen, it is time to close it out for Friday, May 8th. It's been a great weekend, everyone. Gentlemen, we're going to have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday at 10 a.m. Monday around 10 a.m. live on all of our channels, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We post these things back around other places. Look for those who want the clip. Thank you so much, and a high five, everybody. Thank you.
Love you, Mom.
The high five, and we're out.